From translation, TLB the Living Bible this 149th day of the year. Today we are reading passages, Nehemiah 12-13, Nehemiah chapter 12, verses 1 to 47. These are the priests and Levites who returned with Zerubbabel son of Shealtiel, and with Jeshua, Sariah, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Malach, Hattush, Shechaniah, Rehum, Meremoth, Iddo, Ginnethan, Abijah, Mijamin, Mardiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Joiarib, Jediah, Sallu, Amok, Hilkiah, Jediah. These were the leaders of the priests and their associates in the days of Jeshua. The Levites were Jeshua, Binnui, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Judah, and Mattaniah, who, along with his associates, was in charge of the songs of thanksgiving. Bakbukiah and Unni, their associates, stood opposite them during the worship. Jeshua was the father of Joachim, Joachim the father of Eliashib, Eliashib the father of Joiada, Joiada the father of Jonathan, Jonathan the father of Jaddua. During the days of Joachim, these were the leaders of the priests. Of the family of Sariah, Moriah, of Jeremiah, Hananiah, of Ezra, Meshullam, of Amariah, Jehohanan, of Malach, Jonathan, of Shechaniah, Joseph, of Harim, Idnah, of Merioth, Helkai, of Iddo, Zechariah, of Ginnethan, Meshullam, of Abijah, Zikri, of Miniamin, of Modiah, Piltai, of Bilgah, Shammua, of Shemaiah, Jehinathan, of Joiarib, Mattanai, of Jediah, Uzi, of Salai, Kalai, of Amok, Eber, of Hilkiah, Hashabiah, of Jediah, Nethanel. During the reign of Darius the Persian, the family records of the Levites were examined, and it was found that the family heads of the Levites, down to the time of Joachim the priest, Jeshua, son of Jozadak, and his associates, had been officially registered. The Levites were listed in the official records by their leaders, and their names were entered in the genealogical records from the days of Eliashib, Joiada, Joachim, and Jaddua. The leaders of the Levites were Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Jeshua son of Kadmiel. Their associates stood opposite them to give blessings in worship, as directed by David, the man of God. This included Mattaniah, Bakbukiah, Obadiah, Meshullam, Talmon, and Akkub, who guarded the storerooms at the gates. These served in the days of Joachim son of Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor and of Ezra the priest and scribe. For the dedication of the new wall of Jerusalem, the Levites were sought out from all their homes in Jerusalem and were brought to celebrate with gladness, with songs of thanksgiving and the music of cymbals, harps, and lyres. The singers were also assembled from the region around Jerusalem, from the villages of the Netophathites, from Beit Gilgal, and from the farms near Jebah and Asmaveth, for the singers had built villages for themselves around Jerusalem. The priests and Levites first purified themselves, and then the people, the gates, and the wall. I had the leaders of Judea go up on the wall, and I appointed 2 large choirs to give thanks. One went to the right on top of the wall toward the dung gate, walking past the fountain gate and straight on to the water gate. The other choir went to the left, up the wall past the Ephraim gate, then through the Jeshanah gate, and on to the valley gate, where they turned to go toward the refuse gate. The 2 choirs of thanksgiving then took their places in God's temple, and so did I, with half the officials, along with Ezra the priest and scribe, and the other leaders. The choir from the ascent of Mount Zion, led by Hoshea, half of the leaders of Judah, stood near the corner gate, near the Ephraim gate, near the Jeshanah gate, near the fish gate, and near the tower of Hananel, and near the tower of Me. They also stood near the sheep gate, and the choir of thanksgiving sang loudly as they went. The other choir of thanksgiving went in the opposite direction. I followed them on the wall, half the people walking on the wall above the tower of the ovens, as far as the broad wall, then past the Ephraim gate, then through the Jeshanah gate, then through the valley gate, and so back to the city. The 2 choirs of thanksgiving then stood in God's temple. So did I along with half the leaders of Judah, and also the priests, Eliashib, Maaseiah, Miniamin, Mijamin, Elnathan, Jeremiah, and Meshullam. They also included Zechariah, Uriah, Benaiah, Pethahiah, the Levites, Jeshua, Kadmiel, Binnui, Sherebiah, Judah, and Mattaniah, who, with his associates, led the thanksgiving with song, He is good. His mercy endures forever. So the people of Judah rejoiced greatly, for God had given them great joy. The women and children also celebrated, and the joy of Jerusalem was heard from far away. On that day men were appointed to be in charge of the storerooms, for the contributions, firstfruits, and tithes. From the fields surrounding the towns, the people brought portions required by the law for the priests and Levites. For Judah was thankful to the Levites who were ministering to God and to the people. Long ago, in the days of David and Asaph, there had been directors for the musicians, and for the songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. So in the days of Zerubbabel and of Nehemiah, all Israel contributed to the daily support of the singers and gatekeepers. They also set aside a portion for the other Levites, and the Levites, in turn, set aside a portion for the descendants of Aaron. Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 1 to 31. At that time, the book of Moses was read publicly to the people in Jerusalem, and the reader came to this passage: "No Ammonite or Moabite shall ever be admitted into the congregation of God, for they had refused to provide food and water for the Israelites and had hired Balaam to curse them. But our God turned the curse into a blessing." When the people heard this law, they excluded from Israel all foreigners. Previously, Tobiah the Ammonite had been given a room in the temple of God by the priest Eliashib, a relative of Tobiah. This room had been prepared for the grain offerings, the frankincense, the temple articles, and the tithes of grain, new wine, and oil, which were designated for the Levites, singers, and gatekeepers, and for the offerings for the priests. But while all this was happening, I was not in Jerusalem, for I had gone to King Artaxerxes in the 32nd year of his reign, and I returned to the king only after a number of years had passed. When I returned to Jerusalem and learned about the evil things Tobiah had done, including the fact that he had prepared a room for himself in the temple of God, I was furious and threw all of Tobiah's household belongings out of the room. Then I gave orders to purify the rooms and to put back the temple articles, the grain offerings, and the frankincense. I also discovered that the Levites had not been receiving the support they were due, so the Levites and the singers who were responsible for the service had all gone back to their own farms. I confronted the leaders and demanded, "Why has the temple of God been neglected?" Then I called the Levites back and restored them to their proper duties. Then all Judah brought the tithes of grain, new wine, and oil to the storerooms. I appointed as treasurers over the storerooms Shelemiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, and Pedaiah of the Levites, and as their assistant Hanan son of Zaccur, son of Mattaniah. They were trusted men who were responsible for the finances. Remember this good deed, O my God, and have mercy on me according to your great mercy. In those days I saw men in Judah treading winepresses on the Sabbath, and bringing in grain and loading it on donkeys, as well as bringing in all kinds of goods on the Sabbath day. I warned them and made them stop selling food on the Sabbath day. Also, some men from Tyre who lived in Jerusalem were bringing in fish and all kinds of merchandise, and selling them on the Sabbath to the people of Judah in Jerusalem. I confronted the nobles of Judah and said to them, "What is this evil thing you are doing, desecrating the Sabbath day? Didn't your ancestors do the same thing, and didn't our God bring all this disaster on us and on this city? Now you are stirring up more wrath against Israel by desecrating the Sabbath day." After I warned them, I stationed some of my men at the gates of Jerusalem to prevent the people from bringing in merchandise on the Sabbath. I told them not to sell anything on the Sabbath day. Once or twice, the merchants and sellers of all kinds of goods camped outside Jerusalem walls. But I warned them and said, "Why do you camp outside the wall? If you do it again, I will arrest you." After that, they did not come on the Sabbath. I also commanded the Levites to purify themselves and to guard the gates to keep the Sabbath day holy. Remember this also, O my God, and have mercy on me according to your great mercy. Moreover, I saw that some of the men of Judah had married women from Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. Half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod or of the other peoples, and could not speak the language of Judah. I took action against these men. I made them swear in the name of God and said, "You shall not give your daughters in marriage to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves." Was it not because of marriages like these that Solomon, king of Israel, sinned? Among the many nations there was no king like him. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. But even he was led into sin by foreign women. Must we hear now that you are doing all this terrible evil, and are unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women? One of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib the high priest, was the son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite, and I drove him away from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. So I purified the priests and the Levites of everything foreign, and I assigned them their duties, each to his own task. I also made sure that the wood offerings and the firstfruits were brought to the storerooms. Remember me with favor, O my God,